So this time, instead of using one of the websites I mentioned earlier to pick a pose, I brought you a character. Well, technically not fully my own character because I actually pulled him from mythology. But more on that later. Now the version of the character you are seeing here won't look exactly like this in the comic, but it will be very close. I found this image on Pinterest and I used that as my main place to collect inspiration for characters, locations, weapons, creatures, and basically anything that spark ideas for the story. So yeah, the design here isn't 100% accurate, and since he's wearing full battle gear, you can't really tell which mythological figures he's supposed to be. I actually did that on purpose because revealing his name would be a massive spoiler and honestly kind of controversial for people who are sensitive to these kinds of things. That's why I picked an illustration where the face isn't clear, so there's no direct comparisons. But here the important part, this character is going to play a central role. He won't exactly be the main protagonist, but his role is absolutely critical. What you can know is that he's been alive for thousands of years in the Earth timeline. He's originally comes from the Earth, but he doesn't actually live there anymore. He doesn't really have a permanent home. He's constantly moving around because his position within a certain organization requires. He chose this life willingly, so he keeps traveling between worlds, never staying too long in one place. At one point, he will cross paths with the main character, and the two of them will form a really close friendship, almost like brothers. By the way, the protagonist will actually have two such figures in his life. One is this character I'm talking about today, and the other one is Thor from the Norse mythology. Back to this character. So, like I said, he will eventually become a close friend to the protagonist, but not right away. The relationship begins with the fact that the main character is also originally from Earth, and at the start he knows nothing about the other worlds except for the mythologies and stories he's heard. So at first this character basically acts as sorry. So at first this character basically acts as his guide. Over time that he evolves into a real bond of friendships. Know this backstory, the start of their relationship won't actually appear in the comic. The story begins with the main character already having lived in this other verse about 5 4 years, and just to clarify, the protagonist isn't a mythological figure. He's an entire original character I created. I mentioned earlier that this guy has lived for thousands of years. In my world, immortality doesn't exist, nor extremely long life paths. Most races live about as long as humans do, maybe a little longer in some cases, but definitely not thousands of years. However, the organizations he belongs to has a few positions that come with special privileges. One of them being extended life or conditional immortality. So, in his case, he was granted this immortality by his higher ups, but it can also be taken away. And what exactly is his role? Well, he's responsible for guarding the borders between worlds, keeping the balance, and making sure beings from one world can just wander freely into another. This job is handled by a squad of light warriors, and our character is actually the leader of the squad. So yeah, that's the character introduction for today. I hope this little teaser caught your interest. I'd like to hear you thoughts about him. So drop a comment below and let me know what you think.